Welcome everybody on this Monday afternoon to the class on the Heart O' Mine Stroller blanket. Hopefully that's what you're all here for anyway. Um, as usual, this class is going to be recorded, so if you need to refer back to anything later, it will be available on the michaels.com website tomorrow afternoon, as well as the YouTube channel. Darren is your instructor there on screen. He's going to be guiding us through this pattern today. My name's Claire. I'll be hanging out in the chat here on Zoom to answer any questions there or to forward them on to Darren. So if you do have questions, please use the chat function there. I'll also be posting the link and the pattern PDF in case you didn't receive that already. And I think that's all of our admin information, so I'll let Darren get started.
Okay, welcome to class. Today we're going to go over some basic pattern reading, and we're going to learn the bobble stitch, and I'm going to review some other basic stitches so that once we're through with class, you'll be ready to start this project. So lots to cover, a lot of fun things. So if we want to go ahead and switch the view to the view of my hands, go ahead and get started with some of this. Find my glasses so I can see. All right, so here is the shape that we're going to be creating with the baubles. So the baubles are all lined up in the shape to make this really pretty little heart. And then there'll be another heart on the other end of the blanket. So on the blanket, there are actually two hearts. Let's get the pattern. So there are actually two hearts. There's one on this end, a small one. I guess you probably look at it that way. And then here, there's the larger one. And they're really fun to make. There is an eyelet border that goes all the way around the edge. And you can't really tell it in the picture, but you can see here on my piece, there's a little tiny garter stitch edging, and then the eyelet border. And so you have to maintain all of those aspects while you're working on the project. And I'm going to talk about how to keep track of where you are. So if you need the pattern, it's a free pattern from lionbrand.com, and you can also find it on michaels.com. Heart of Mine Stroller Blanket. It's a free download. And it is considered an easy pattern. I might make it more of a slightly advanced easy, maybe easy plus. It gives you the size. The material that you need is A Star is Born. You need lilac, which is the color of this one, 2 balls, stitch markers, and large eye blunt needles for weaving in your ends. So here's the yarn I used. And this is, it is NAPTIME by Lion Brand. It's a great bonus bundle. It's a nice big, lots and lots of yardage on here. There are 735 yards, which is a very generous amount. It's a number 4 medium worsted weight, and it's calling for a size 6 knitting needle, but this pattern is asking us to use a size 7. So you can kind of make your decision on if you want to use a 6 or 7. It's 100% polyester, machine washable. It is lay flat, as asking you to lay flat to dry. So don't put it in the dryer because it might not hold up as well in the dryer. But it's really soft. It's a chenille yarn. Very, very nice. They're asking you to use a circular knitting needle, size 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. And that needle should be at least 29 inches long. Now, the reason they're having you use a circular needle, not because we're knitting in the round, but because the blanket is very long and you want to have enough room to have your blanket on the needle. So if we were going to use a needle like this one, just like a 14-inch straight needle, you can see we would have to have the blanket all really scrunched up on here, and it would make it very hard to see what you're doing. So that's why they're having you do a circular needle. So don't think you have to knit in the round, and just be careful that you don't knit in the round. Okay. So circular needle at least, it could be a little longer. I think the one I have is actually 40 inches, but you want to be able to lay your blanket out and clearly see exactly how everything looks, okay? Any questions about the supplies, the materials, or what you're going to need to get started?
I
Okay,
don't
everyone
know
good
that
on
you'll
that?
be, yes, I don't know that you'll be able to do anything about it, Darren, but your picture is a little fuzzy, and I think it's just the internet connection.
Oh, maybe, yeah, I can do nothing about that. So, um, yeah, it's a miracle that I made it on a computer and am broadcasting over the internet. The interwebs are a mystery to me. So, um, okay, so hopefully it won't be too fuzzy. Um, so I want to start with reviewing the pattern. So this pattern, it gives us a lot of explanations and information. And I'm going to come back and cover each one of these as we come to in the pattern. So it gives us the explanation on how to make the bauble. And this is just the bauble, just how to make one bauble. It's teaching us how to do a yarn over. And then the next information it's giving us when you go through the pattern is the pattern stitch, the large bauble heart, which is worked over 37 stitches, and then the small bauble heart. So this information is telling us how to take that bauble that we just learned how to make on the other page and arrange those baubles in the shape of a heart, okay? And then it's having us start, and then not too long after we start, it's giving us another set of instructions. And I found this very confusing, so I'm going to tell you how I sorted it out. It's having us do the large bauble heart pattern. And this set of information, this set of instructions, is telling us how to take the shape of the heart and insert it into the blanket while we're maintaining the eyelet edge and the garter stitch edge. So they're giving us the information in 3 different places. But for me, it was a little confusing. I called Claire up last week and said, Claire, I need help with this one. I knew exactly what they wanted me to do, but I couldn't understand why they were telling me to do it this way. And so once Claire said it out loud, because Claire is a genius, it made perfect sense. So hopefully we can make it all make sense together. What do you think, Claire?
I think
Good.
that sounds good.
So the first thing is it asks us to cast on 109 stitches loosely. So I want to show you a few, we're going to do the cast on, and I'm going to talk about how to do it loosely. And that will give us a little bit of one thing, if you want to do a cast on loosely, you can use one size larger needle. So instead of using a size 7, you can cast on with a size 8. So you start with a slip knot, you put it on, and I'm going to demonstrate the long tail cast on. And there are lots and lots of videos online for this one. So, but for the long tail cast on, you you um you do need a long tail, so you want to make sure that your tail is very long. You tie a slip knot, and put that on your needle. Hold both strands of yarn in your hand, and then kind of open it up. And I was told when I was taught this, it's kind of like you're opening it up, making a gun. So I know that's not politically correct right now to talk about guns, but when you're a little child, and when I was little, we played like that. And so hold it, open it up like this. And then you're going to take your knitting needle, you're going to pick it up under the thumb. So you're going to go over and pick it up under the thumb. You're going to go to the tip of your index finger, pick up your yarn, and then you're going to bring it back through that window and then tighten it up. Now we're not going to tighten it up tight. I'm going to leave it loose, and I'm going to keep my finger between my stitches so they don't squish together. and that's going to help me with a loose cast on. So I'm going to put my finger here to kind of maintain that space. Open up your spread again to do another stitch. Go under the thumb, over to your index finger, under the finger, pick up that strand of yarn, and then bring it back through this window. And then don't pull it up real tight, and keeping your finger there to keep the space between the stitches. So bring it over, pick it up from under the thumb, pick it up from under the tip of your index finger, and then you're going in between here through that little window. And as you see, I've got my finger there to maintain my space. Don't pull it tight. We want a loose cast on. So does this make sense? Were you able to follow this cast on? And once you get going, it is pretty fast once you get the rhythm of it. So open up your spread. Pick it up from under the thumb, under the finger, and through the window. All right, we feel good about that one or no?
Good question. We have a question on how you can be sure that you have enough yarn for all of the stitches. I think also, Darren,
Well, that's a very, what is it?
your above view camera keeps trying to connect to audio, and so there's a little message at the top of the screen.
Oh, I'm not getting it. Which might, oh, I don't see a message on my thing. So how you tell, it's an age-old question and it's a dangerous game. The one thing I've been told is if you hold your knitting needles together and then wrap around how many times you need to cast on. So if you wrap 109 times, that should give you plenty. What do you think, Claire? Have you heard this method?
I think I've heard that before, but it's not generally how I do it. At least for me, if I hold the yarn between like my thumb and my index finger and then measure up about to my elbow is roughly 20 stitches for like fingering sport weight, and then a little higher up the arm for thicker yarns. And then I always give myself some extra.
I highly endorse giving yourself extra because you get to the point where you cast on 99 stitches and you run out and you have to start over. It's not a happy day. Okay, so to cast on loosely, I recommend keeping your little space between your stitches. The long tail cast on is a slightly looser cast on. It's a slightly more stretchy. And so you can use a bigger needle or research other. There are lots of really stretchy bind on or cast ons. I researched some and I was going to try to teach a few, but they all seem so complicated compared to this one. And I didn't want to spend the whole class just teaching how to do a cast on. So I chose just to show this one. Okay. So any questions about casting on? Nope. All right. So once we cast on, we're going to work garter stitch, which means knit every stitch on every row for 3 rows. So that's very easy. We're just going to knit 3 rows back and forth. Keeping the first and last stitch, keeping the first and last 3 stitches in garter stitch, beginning with the wrong side row, we're going to work stockinette stitch, which means knit on the right side and purl on the wrong side for 3 rows. So we're going to work 3 rows of garter stitch and then 3 rows of stockinette stitch, but we're always going to maintain the first and last stitches will be in garter stitch. So always knitting the first 3 and the last 3 stitches. then there's an eyelet row. Let me demonstrate how to do a yarn over, and that will create the eyelet. And what this row is creating is this eyelet row that comes across the bottom. So here are my 3 rows of garter stitch. Here are my 3 rows of stockinette stitch. And then here's the eyelet row I'm going to show you now, which comes across the bottom and makes the eyelet all around the bottom. And then we have to maintain the eyelets on the side as well. But for the bottom, it says to knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, and then repeat from the asterisk to the last 3 stitches and knit 3. So I just have a little swatch here. So I'm going to just knit a couple, and then I'm going to start my eyelet. So I'm not working with my tail. Okay. So just I'm going to knit 2, pretend I knitted 6 as the pattern said. And then to do a yarn over, this is the way I always do a yarn over. I just take my yarn, wrap it around my needle. So I'm taking my yarn, wrapping it over the needle. So the yarn goes over the needle, and I'm done with the yarn over. And then the next one says knit 2 together. So to knit 2 together, there's 1. Usually if you knit, you'd go here, but for knit 2 together, you're going to enter the second stitch, go through both, wrap it, bring it through together. Okay, let me show you that again. So a yarn over, you just wrap the yarn over your needle, that's my yarn over, and then knit 2 together. So go through both stitches, wrap the yarn, bring it through both, transfer it over. Now, why do we have to do that? So we're making the yarn over, which creates this decorative hole. But what it also creates is an extra stitch. So anytime you have yarn that's going around your needle, it has the opportunity to become a stitch. So that's going to become an extra stitch. So we do a knit 2 together, and that decreases a stitch. So we increase a stitch and we decrease a stitch. And so basically our stitch count will remain the same. If we didn't do knit 2 together and we just did yarn overs, then we would end up adding stitches and our blanket would not be square, it would be irregular shaped. So that's why we do the yarn over and then the knit 2 together. So I'll demonstrate that again. Just have any questions about how that works? So yarn over. And then knit 2 together. It slipped off. There we go. Okay, any questions? Pretty easy. So in that row, you knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, and repeat from the asterisk all the way across. After you're through with that, keeping the first and last 3 stitches in garter stitch, work in stockinette stitch, knit on the right side and purl on the wrong side for 7 rows. And you can see here when I was making mine, I kept little tally marks to keep track of what row I was on because I didn't, I mean, you could go 8 rows or 9 by mistake. So I just kept, it's kind of nice to keep track. So that's how I kept track. And then here's where I ran into problems and I called Claire. So this information right here is just telling us, the placement of the heart in the blanket with the border. So row 1, which is a right side row, and we know it's a right side row because it's having us knit. So we're starting out with knit. So we're going to knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together, place the marker for the edging pattern, work row 1 of the large bobble heart pattern over the next 37 stitches, place the marker, knit to the last 8 stitches, place the marker, yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit 6 for the edging. Now it sounds like a lot is going on in that row because a lot is going on in that row. So let's break it down step by step, and I'm going to demonstrate each step and show you how to do it exactly. So knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together is really simple. So we already talked about that in the last little demonstration I did. Placing your marker, really easy. Some people have questions about it. Once you know how to do it, it's super easy. So placing a marker, you just take your stitch marker and you can use a round one like that, or you can use one that opens and closes like that, or sometimes they're really decorative. And you just pop that right on your right hand needle. So now I've placed my marker. And then after you place your marker, you just continue knitting whatever the next stitch is called for. So you just place your marker just like that. And that's indicating your edging stitch, so that your edging pattern. And now it wants us to work row 1 of the large bobble heart. So we have to go back and we have to look here for the large bobble heart, row 1, which is going to be a right side row. We knit 18, which is easy enough. Make a bobble. So MB means make bobble. And then we're going to knit 18. And I wrote on here to double check your count. So every time you're doing this knit 18, knit 16, knit 13, whatever it is, make sure your count is exactly right, because your heart could be misshapen or wonky if it's off. So double check your count right in there. So make bobble. What is that trying to tell us? So now we have to go back here to the beginning, to the stitch explanation. And so this is telling us how to make a bobble, how to just make one bobble. So let me demonstrate that for you. And they're actually really fun to make once you get into it. So I'm going to move this out of the way so you get a nice clear, try to zoom in on it a bit. So for making the bobble, the first thing you do is yarn over. So you yarn over to make the bobble. And then you enter your stitch like you're going to knit. Wrap your yarn. Bring it back through, but don't take it off. So we're going to leave that on. And then you wrap your yarn again, another yarn over, into the same stitch, like we're going to knit. Don't take it off yet. Wrap your yarn, enter, act like you're going to do another stitch, bring it through, and now take it off. And you should have 6 loops on here. So with my yarn over, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you need to have 6 loops, all right? Turn your work. This is kind of a weird thing to do in knitting. You don't usually turn your work mid-row like this, but you're going to turn your work. Now, look and see where you are. You're on the wrong side, so you're on the purl side. So if you're on the purl side, we're going to purl. You slip the first stitch as if to purl. So you enter the stitch as if you were going to purl it, although you're only going to slip it. And then you're going to purl 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, purl 5. Stop. Turn your work, which seems weird, but we're learning something new. Let me raise this a bit. I keep bumping it. Okay. Now we're going to slip the first one as if to knit. So you enter it as if to knit, slip it. And now we're going to knit 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now we've done that step. You can see here the bobble's starting to shape up nicely. Turn your work. And now we're going to knit, we're going to purl 2 together 3 times. So we're going to take 6 stitches and we're going to reduce them down to 3 stitches. So enter the stitches as like you're going to purl them. So enter 2 stitches, purl them together. Okay, so now my bobble's been reduced to 3 stitches. Turn your work again. Slip the first stitch as if to knit. Knit these 2 together. Oops, it slipped off. Let me pop those back on there. So knit those 2 together. And then you pass that slipped stitch over. Kind of like a bind off. It dropped over. And there I'm back down to 1 stitch and I've got a nice fluffy bobble. Easy and fun, right? Easy and fun? Any questions about that?
We did have a question about when you think it would be a good idea to mark the right side of the blanket.
You can mark the right side of the blanket when you very first start. Like whenever you first start your stockinette stitch and you're purling, whenever you start purling on the wrong side, go ahead and stick a safety pin or a stitch marker on that side, so that way you won't get it mixed up. You can go ahead and do that right from the very, very beginning. Any other questions?
We did have a request to see the bobble again.
I thought we might, so let me do another stitch to get out of the way. All right, so the bobble. To work up to wherever it says to do your bobble, and it gives you the directions. Each step is written out step by step right here. So if you want to read along, if you have a pattern as I'm going over them, or you can watch the video later, but it does, don't think you have to memorize it the way I'm telling you. It gives it step by step here. But when you're doing it later, it might make more sense since you've seen it, a couple of times. So yarn over to start with. So start with the yarn over, enter your stitch, just like normal, wrap your yarn, bring it through, but don't take it off yet. And then do a yarn over to add another loop. And then enter your stitch as if to knit. Yarn over. Don't take it off yet. Yarn over. And enter your stitch. Wrap your yarn as if to knit. Bring it back through. And this time we're going to take it off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to make sure you have 6 loops. Turn your work. Slip the first one as if to purl, and then purl 5. And remember, if you don't have the pattern right now, you can go and download it for free and print it. It's a free pattern, so you can always print it for free and have your own copy. Turn your work, and we're going to slip the next one as if to knit, and we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. So then, at this point, you can really see the bobble taking shape. So you can kind of see what you're doing. Turn your work. It seems weird to be turning your work like this when you're knitting. But it's more of a crochet thing, I think. I don't know, but it's, it's always fun to learn a new trick. And now we're going to purl 2 together twice. We're going to take our 6 stitches and turn them into 3 stitches. I thought for some reason it would be a good idea to demonstrate on 12-inch circular needles, but they are giving me a hard time. It's not a good decision. Purl 2 together 3 times. Take our 6 stitches and turn them into 3. Turn your work. Slip 1 as if to knit. Don't let it slip off the end. And then we're going to knit 2 together. I'm having a hard time doing this today. Very slippery. These needles are slick. So knit 2 together and then pass the slip stitch over, and we're back to 1 stitch. So we went up to 6, down to 3, and now we're down to 1. And you can see here I've got 2 bobbles. Very nice. And once you learn to make these bobbles, of course, you don't have to stick with this pattern. After you make this pattern, you can start adding bobbles to everything you make. Anything you want to add a bobble to, now you know how. It does take quite a bit of extra yarn. So, well, let's say you decide you're going to make a hat, but you want to put a row of bobbles on it. Make sure you do buy extra yarn, because as you can see, they take quite a bit of yarn to do. So any questions about the bobble, how to make the bobble, any particular part of the step that doesn't make sense, I'll be happy to go over it again. See it again? Are we good?
We did have a question about how you know where to start the bobbles.
Okay, so I'll go over that and then I'll demonstrate it one more time at least. maybe a couple more. So how do you know? The pattern will tell you exactly when to do the bobble. So starting here with, we cast on 109 stitches, you work through all of that until you get to the point here where it says large bobble heart pattern. And this is placement of the heart in the blanket with border. So row 1, you'll knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together, and that's your edging, your border. Place the marker to mark the edging pattern. Work row 1 of the large bobble heart pattern over the next 37 stitches. And then at the end of that, you're going to place the marker to mark for that. So we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to work row 1 of the bobble heart pattern because I didn't memorize it. So let's go back here. This is the large bobble heart pattern. Bobbles are worked every 4th row only. So remember, we're not doing them every row. So row 1, it's telling us we're on the right side. You should always be making the bobbles only on the right side. So if you find yourself on a purl row, you know you're in the wrong place. Knit 18, make bobble. So that's how you know when to make the bobble. So you'll knit 18, make bobble, knit 18. And then down here, you're going to be making more than one bobble in a stitch. I'm sorry, in a row. So you'll be like knitting, knit 16, make bobble, knit 3, make bobble, knit 16. Knit 13, make bobble, knit 9, make bobble, knit 13. So you're watching them form the shape of a heart. So if you look here, this is the first one you make, right here. And then you make these 2, which are on either side of it. So that's gonna, it should start to shape like that. And then you make these 2, which, you know, it's kind of creating a triangle shape. And it should be doing that all the way until you get here where you do 3 straight in a row on top of each other to kind of create the side of the heart. And then you making them kind of close back up. So that's how you know when to make the heart, the bobble. Does that answer that question? Any
I
other
think
questions?
so. Dee asked if the bobble pattern started on row 8, and I don't think it's exactly row 8 because you're going to be working in stockinette stitch for
Oh, you know,
for
I don't think
7
that works
rows,
well.
and that's after your border and your eyelet. So not exactly row 8 of the pattern.
Yeah, so you work 3 rows of garter stitch, 3 rows of stockinette, so that's 6 rows. Then you do your eyelet row, so that's 7. And then you work 7 rows of stockinette stitch, so that's about 14 rows, right? So unless I've missed anything. So it technically will start on the 15th row. I think that's, if my math is correct, which it very well may not be. But it's, yes, it's after you get in there for a while. After you've been knitting for a little while, you'll start placing the heart. Now, do you want to see the bobble again before I move on to the next bit?
I was thinking actually, Darren, could you just show the partial blanket you have, and that might help people picture where it starts.
So what we did, we cast on this edge right here, our stitches. Here is my garter stitch. So it's just 3 rows of garter stitch, very, very small. 3 rows of stockinette. And then I have my eyelet right here. And then 7 rows of stockinette stitch. So there's this much before you start the first bobble. And they kind of flop around a bit. So, you know, but does that help? Does that answer that question?
I think so. And just briefly, did we cover what the abbreviation MB stands for?
Um, I think so. I said it means make bobble. Does it mean make bobble? Is that what it means, Claire, make bobble?
Yes, I just couldn't recall if I'd heard that mentioned or not.
I thought I
Trying to keep
mentioned.
an eye on the chat.
I did think I mentioned it. Any other questions while I'm sorting through my papers? We could go over some of the abbreviations. BEG means beginning. K is knit. K2TOG is knit two together. P is purl. P2TOG is purl two together. RAM is remaining. REP is repeat. RS is right side. SL is slip. ST is stitches or stitch. STST is stockinette stitch. And wrong side is WS. It doesn't even have make bubble there. It's listed, however, under here, where it's giving the stitch explanation. It's just spelled out MB, which stands for make bobble. Okay. Any questions about anything we've covered so far? I'll be glad to go over anything again.
We did have a question on the last step of doing the bobble. I think someone just kept missing the last few steps on how you reduce all of those extra stitches or extra loops.
It is, it is a lot to see. So let's just start the bobble again. So yarn over, starts with the yarn over. You enter the stitch, wrap the yarn, bring it through. So that's 3 on. Yarn over, that's 4 on. 2, 3, 4. Wrap the yarn and or yarn over, enter the stitch, wrap the yarn, bring it through, transfer it over. So yeah, something doesn't look right. I'm going to start over. Now I'm dropping stitches. I'm sure something didn't look right to me, so I'm going to start over. So start with the yarn over, enter the stitch, yarn over, bring it through. I'm taking it off. That's what happened. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. So pay attention to what you're doing. That's why it didn't look right. All right, so start with the yarn over, enter, wrap the yarn, bring it through, do not take it off. Yarn over, enter, wrap it, bring it through, yarn over, enter, wrap it, bring it through. So 1, 2, 3. Did I have 6? So slip the first one. Purl 5. Turn your work. Slip the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Nice bubble taking shape. So here we're going to purl 3 together. I'm sorry, we're going to purl 2 together 3 times. Purl two together. Purl two together. So what we've done is we took 6 stitches for our bobble and we brought it down to 3. And here, you can see the bobble is taking shape. Slip the first stitch. So we have 3 stitches. We're going to slip the first one. We're going to knit these 2 together. And then this is the last step. We take this slipped stitch and we slip it over and just let, it's kind of like a bind off. And then that's how we do it. Were you able to see at that time clearly? Was that helpful? Okay. Any other questions? I don't mind going over a couple more times if you need me to. Anything else?
We do have a question on the slip stitches in the bobble. Farina wants to know, when you slip the stitch when knitting, you're slipping as if to knit, and when purling as if to purl. I believe that is correct.
Usually when you slip a stitch in knitting, yeah, for this, usually when you slip a stitch with knitting, if it only says to slip the stitch, you always slip as if to purl because you don't want to twist your stitch. However, if it's telling you, so here it's telling you to slip one as if to purl and slip one as if to knit. So if it's telling you to slip it as if to knit, then they want you to do that. And what that does, that causes the stitch to twist. And I feel like it probably kind of cinches in that edge of that bobble a little bit. Don't you think, Claire? Why they're doing that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly why.
Yeah, kind of cinches that in. So usually if it only says to slip a stitch, if it just says slip a stitch, you always slip as if to purl because you don't want to twist it. Sometimes they'll have you do it the other way for dramatic effect. Usually it's just for whatever reason. All right. Anything else?
We do have a question from Liz. She wants to know about the continuation of the pattern from remaining rows.
Okay, so I have a whole system worked out for that, and you may or may not like the answers, but so when you're working on the blanket, let's go over it. I knew exactly what they wanted me to do. So I read through this, I knew exactly what they wanted me to do, but I just couldn't understand the logic behind how they were describing it. So, so we did row 1. Row 2, which is the wrong side row, is knit 3, purl 5, slip the marker, purl to the next marker, work in the large bobble heart pattern as established to the next marker, slip the marker. So basically, if we go back to large bobble heart pattern, the next row we have to worry about is row 5. So when we're doing rows 3 and 4, we're just gonna kind of purl or knit, basically straightforward. We're gonna work our edging pattern. We're going to knit 3, purl 5. So knitting 3 maintains our garter stitch edge, purling 5, and then slipping the marker. And then row 3, we're gonna knit 8, slip marker, work in the large bobble heart pattern as established. So basically no bobbles in this row. Slip marker, knit 8. Rows 4 through 7. Repeat rows 2 and 3 twice. So we're going to do 2, 3, 2, 3. Row 8 is, we're going to repeat row number 2. And then row 9, we have a lot going on. We're going to knit 6, yarn over, knit 2 together, slip marker, work in large bobble heart pattern as established, to the next marker, slip marker, knit to the marker, slip marker, yarn over. So we're going to do all that. Then it's telling us to repeat rows 2 through 9 until all 48 rows of the large bobble heart pattern have been worked. It's easy for them to say, right? So what I did was I got a piece of paper and I went here to my large bobble heart pattern, and you can see they've numbered the rows for us, 1 through 48. And of course, it's not every one. The bobbles are worked every 4th row. So 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, 21, 25, 29, 23, or sorry, 33, 37, 41, 45, 47, and 48. And so what I did was I numbered out, I listed the numbers 1 through 48 on a blank page. And here's what that looks like. And I marked, so row 1 is a bobble and an eyelet. Row 5 is a bobble, but there's no eyelet. So I put a little X there, no eyelet and a bobble. And I just went through row 9, row 13, 17, and 21. I just went all the way through and marked each bobble row, okay? And then I marked each one that would have an eyelet. So that way I would make sure I knew where I was knitting at any given time. And then what it's telling me to do when I get to row, so it wants me to repeat row 2 through 9. So I listed it out like this. I did row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3, and then row 2 one more time. Sorry, I got messed up. So I did 2 and 3 the first time. I repeated them twice, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. I did 2 one last time. Now I'm on row 9. And row 9 is an eyelet row. So right here, it's having me do the eyelet. So that's how I did mine. And I can show you the one I wrote out another one to make it look a little neater for you. But this is the one I actually used. And I just checked them off. Each time I did a row, I just checked it off. And I wrote, here you can see I have my eyelet marked, and an X where there's not an eyelet. And each row I marked, am I supposed to be purling or knitting? So I knew if I was on the right side or the wrong side. And so I finished row 9. I do 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and then 1, 2, and then I'm back to row 9. So even though I'm on 17, row 17 of my large eyelet pattern, I'm repeating row 9. So that's why I wrote it out like this, because I found it confusing. Are there lots of questions about this? Does that make any sense to anyone else? That's how I sorted it out. Claire, help?
I would also say that if you are able to read your knitting for the eyelet rows and you can just work through the bobble rows in order, that's probably very helpful. And I believe the eyelet rows occur every 8th row. This is what I just checked in the pattern.
Yes.
Yes.
Eyelet row is every 8th row. Bobble is every 4th row.
Yeah. And so
But it had me very confused for a minute. I would have just taken the pattern and tossed it away and just did and made a heart. But when you're teaching, you have to be able to explain, why things are happening. So that's
it
why
is
I
tricky.
wrote it all out.
And I think this is a situation where probably those knitters' favorite words at the same time come into play because you're keeping track of two different row counts at once, basically.
Yeah, you're always maintaining this edge, the garter stitch edge. You're maintaining the eyelet every 4 rows. I'm sorry, every 8 rows. And then you're doing a bobble every 4 rows. So that's why it's a little confusing. But once you get into it, like once you get into like here, it starts to make perfect sense and it's actually very easy to follow. So it's not as intimidating as it looks. Do we have any questions? Anything?
While we see if there's any other questions,
all?
I'm going to put the pattern in the chat here.
I thought there'd be lots of questions. I might have come up with a few for later. No, but it's really fun. Once you get into these baubles, once you get making them, they're actually a lot of fun to make. And once you start seeing the heart take shape, it's really a sweet blanket. So it's really very sweet. Like a great gift. Once you do this bubble heart shape, you could add this on a sweater. You could do the small bubble on a heart on a hat or a scarf. Be really cute, lots of places. So you can take this and add it to other parts of your knitting, other places. So yeah, lots of fun.
Oh, good question here. If you didn't want the eyelets, you would just keep knitting, ignore that direction, right?
Yeah, you would just, where it says yarn over knit two together, just skip it. However, I do think the eyelet is helping to keep it from curling so much. Do you think it is, Claire? Because there's not much of a garter stitch edge. So if I were skipping the eyelet, I might give an extra couple stitches for the garter stitch edge. What do you think, Claire? Does that matter or not?
I'm not sure if it's the yarn over or the type of yarn that's being used. Because
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Because I feel like the chenille yarns don't really want to curl so much as a more like traditionally spun yarn.
Yeah.
And so that's a good question. If you did want to use a different yarn for this pattern, you might want to cast on extra stitches and do more garter border all the way around.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, anything else? All right, so it was a lot of fun making this. So if anyone wants to make it, I'd love to see your progress. Or if you have any questions, you can find me on either TikTok or Instagram. My screen name is Mr. Woolly Bear. Spelled out M-I-S-T-E-R, Woolly Bear. Maybe Claire will put that in the chat so you can see it. On Facebook, it's just my name. So if you just search my name and you'll see there's a picture of me on it. So it's pretty easy to find. You can send me questions. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to help you. Or if you make the project, I'd love to see it. You can tag me in it. It'd be great. So, all right, if there's nothing else, thanks for coming to class. We have a crochet class next week. So look forward to that. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.